All right, we're recording. Welcome to the show. We've got Sam Janssen on the show today. So this is a bit of a different podcast, not really a podcast, but a chat. We've had a few athletes on in the past, and now I'd like to reach out to some coaches. And Sam is someone I've known about for a bit, but only first met about a month ago. And she's got some good stories and experiences, and a unique setup down in Melbourne, which speaks to the kind of audience we've been trying to get information out to, which is developing elite athletes and junior athletes looking to make a career out of triathlon. And Sam's got some good current examples and some other unique things to talk about today. So, welcome Sam to the show, and how you been, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you. I'm pumped to be one of your first coaches on here. This is exciting.
Yeah. I mean, I think homegrown local coaches don't get enough exposure, I guess. We're podcasts and that are all keen to sort of go to the high profile international coaches and that sort of thing, but I don't think enough Aussies realise just how much coaching talent we do have homegrown. So, yeah, pleasure to have you here, mate.
Yeah, great. I think you're right. There are lots of different podcasts out there, and I've certainly listened to quite a few myself of the elite level coaches, and there's some great information out there. But yeah, there's not too many homegrown Aussie coaching heroes out there just on the ground doing it tough, and it's quite a challenge. So it's nice to be able to share some of what we're doing.
Yeah, no, great. We'll get into a bit about your background and everything, but sort of what did today look like for you on the coaching tools?
Fridays is just one coaching session in the morning. It does start at 5:30, which means a 4:40 alarm. I do find those 4 starting alarms a bit rude, but it's part of coaching, really. So just a 90-minute swim session this morning with the group, and then it was just a day in front of the computer working, and a couple of athlete chats and annual plans and things like that to work through. So yeah, just a bit of an admin day after that coaching session.
Yeah, that's it's the thing about triathlon. Hey, if you don't like early mornings, it's going to be a even tougher grind, isn't it?
It really is. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, do you want to spend a few minutes just talking about yourself, maybe sort of how you got into the crazy world of triathlon and sort of where you kicked off your coaching journey?
Yeah, sure. I don't come from an illustrious sporting background with Olympic glory or anything like that. I started as a youngin playing lots of different sports: netball, soccer, basketball, swimming, a little bit of everything. I did quite well at both netball and soccer, and played at a reasonably high level, state level, and so on. But I didn't actually find triathlon until I was 31. So quite a late comer.
I thought I was late to it. I was like 23 or something.
Oh no, I trumped you there. So I had heard of it, but I had a family member who was doing it, and he kept saying to me, "Oh, I think you should try this. You would be really good at it. I think you'd really enjoy it." And it just kind of never really eventuated. And then finally I did my first triathlon in 2010, and it wasn't the best experience. It was super wild conditions down at Elwood, and I got a flat on the bike and then had to race back in and get that changed and get back out there. And I had no idea what I was doing. I only learned about setting up transition the day before, a thing that the event was hosting. But there was something about it just had me hooked. I'd enjoyed the process of trying to get fit and learning about the sport. And then the race was such a challenge, and I was just so excited to get through it. And then because I'd had several hiccups. I was then just keen to go and see if I could do it again, but better. And then it just escalated from there.
It has a bit of a way about it, doesn't it? For
It
some
really,
reason.
yeah, it absolutely does. So, yeah, I pretty much got hooked.
Yeah.
And then in 2015, I started working with Michael Harvey, who now coaches in Switzerland as part of he heads the Swiss junior team over there. And I started working with him, and I did a whole heap of events. I did cross triathlon events. I did all the 2x U series. I did several 70.3s. I did a world champs in the sprint distance. And then after that, I sort of thought, what can I do next? And he planted this seed about getting into some coaching, and he had kind of had this vision to work with juniors. And it just so happened that at that stage, my daughter's high school was looking for somebody to help support their triathlon program that a teacher was looking to get started. And so I thought, I'll go and get my coaching qualifications just so I can help at the school. And then again, things escalated. Before I knew it, I was coaching age group athletes and coaching in 2 different schools. And yeah, things just went nuts from there.
Just start booming pretty quickly.
Yeah, it did. And I have a teaching background, so that really does tie in nicely with coaching. I've always enjoyed working with kids. So the coaching was just a really nice sort of avenue that linked in with my teaching skills, and I really enjoyed it. And because I was super passionate about triathlon, it felt just like a really natural progression into coaching. So it went from there. And then Michael moved to Switzerland, and I kind of took over the squad here. And then Chris, our third business partner, he got involved, I think maybe about 18 months after me. And we just started developing the idea of junior squad even more. So yeah, that's kind of how it all began.
And so how long have you had the junior squad going for?
It started in 2019. At Albert Park College. It started as, I don't know if you've heard the Tie Together program that, I don't know if it was Australia-wide or if it was just Victoria was doing, but it was
I got into junior coaching through, they called it Try Kids, I think it was. And it was basically like a templated 6-week program for like pretty little kids. So it sounds similar to what you're talking about.
Yeah, similar. Except it was rolled out in high schools mostly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so, after I did my development, I think it was development or foundation. No, it was my foundation coaching, actually. One of the coaches there who was a mentor at that said, you'd be really good at the Tie Together program. Why don't you make some inquiries with at that time it was Tri Vic. And so I did, and next thing I knew, I was in 2 schools delivering triathlon programs.
Yeah,
so
you're off to the races.
Yeah, that's right. Literally. So and it sort of went from there. We now have an academy at one of the local colleges, which is we found that's probably the best setup in terms of junior coaching and access to kids. It's a high school, which we've sort of agreed to focus more on age sort of 12 to 13 up rather than the little kids. So working in the high schools is great. This setup is really good because what happens is the school actually has several academies. They have, footy, soccer, cricket, dance, so on and so on. But each of the academies is outsourced to expert coaches in that area. At the end of the year, the list of academies goes out to all of the kids, and they can choose which academy they want to be part of for the following year. The school basically does all of the advertising and promotion for that. And then they collect all of the registrations, and then they collect the money and all that kind of stuff, and we coach the kids. It's 2 sessions a week. for us, and the way we run it, 2 sessions a week, which we kind of expect them to be at. And then when we have weekend trainings and races and stuff, we're obviously there as support. But we've got a really beautiful group of kids that have come through the program from that academy. So
yeah, right. So you've had that going since 19, so pretty much 6 years.
Yeah, the academy has actually only been established as the academy for 3 years. Prior to that, I was just coaching a group of kids that came through the Try Together program, and every now and again we might get one pop in from somewhere else. But the academy setup as such has been, this is the third year now of that setup.
Yep, nice.
So
yeah. And so you're full-time, obviously, in the coaching realm? Yep. So full-time coaches are in triathlon are quite a rarity. You sounds like you were a teacher prior to that. How was your experience with the jump from,
well, there's actually a big gap between teaching and coaching. In between, I taught for 10 years, and then once I had my own kids, I didn't go back to teaching. I was like, oh, it's too much with my own kids at home. I can't deal with everybody else's kids as well. So I took a pivot in career, and I actually worked in investment real estate for a while. Then I worked in marketing and events management, and I was doing weddings on the beach in Margaret River, which was a job I really loved. But then when I moved back to Melbourne, it was I did that job for a while remotely, but it was kind of challenging. And then the coaching came along, and I sort of gradually phased out of the wedding business and then into coaching. So it wasn't straight from teaching to coaching. Okay. There's a bit of a pivot and a few other bits and pieces. Yep.
Yeah. No, that's really cool. So I mean, applicable to the kind of audience we're trying to help out here with athletes who have aspirations to move into the elite space, or even those ones who are kind of currently on that journey but in the early part of it. You've got a few things going on in that space. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. We're largely quite a young junior squad, but we do have a collection of athletes that are 18 to 25. And what I guess our drive has been that there hasn't been an obvious elite path, particularly for Victorian athletes, pretty much since I have been coaching. There's been, I think, 2 name changes to the pathway. Every year it kind of looks different. It's all been a little bit up in the air. So we decided that we would try and create something that had a little bit more stability, with a bit of clear direction for athletes. If they didn't fit into the typical situation where they went to one of the Tri hubs or whatever, then we wanted to have something available for those guys, whether it be because they didn't want to move or they weren't a short course athlete or whatever. We just wanted to be able to provide something that catered for that athlete. And then sometimes there's athletes that are around that 18 and maybe they haven't peaked yet as a triathlete, but they've got the potential to potentially still be a great short course athlete. They just need a few more years. And so, offering something for those guys so they don't fall in between the cracks just because they don't fit into the traditional pathway is also like a little bit of a mission. We currently have Sky, who has just gone long course pro. Now she started came through the ranks as a junior and had sort of flagged that she probably wasn't a typical short course athlete and that she'd be better suited to long course. So we've been working in the last, I think it's three years now, developing her as a long course athlete, and she's just gone pro last year.
Yeah, cool.
Now, the way we work, there's 3 of us. We obviously have Michael in Switzerland. He is a high performance coach, and then Chris and I here on the ground. And so we do quite a bit of team coaching. For Sky's program, Michael oversees the program and the writing of the program, and then Chris and I are the day-to-day face-to-face kind of coaching.
Delivery.
Yep, and the delivery, exactly. And we all liaise over her program and how that works, and whether she rocked up to training tired or whatever, and we can talk about that. So it's very kind of collaborative, and I mean, I think for the most part that works really, really well, and maybe she's your next athlete on, and you can ask her.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Feel that demand for us.
Yeah.
I'm glad you talked about the collaboration, because that's something I'm trying to do more of and lean more into, and I think it's probably one of the big missing parts in helping Australia get back onto that top step, is getting more of the Australian network connected to support everyone to help make it happen. So I think I'm glad you talked about that, and because that's probably another unique part of what you're doing down there, is you've got essentially 3 coaches who are working together and not working against each other to help the athletes, and that's going to be I think for most coaches, we're probably guilty of that to a bit of an extent at some point in our coaching careers, and it's quite natural if you're trying to run a business and all that, protect the bottom line. But I think the end game is that we work together to help support the athletes to make it happen, because it is a hard journey, and the saying I like that I've heard is we're better together. So is there anything else about that collaboration that you want to sort of touch on? You sort of talked how it works with Sky. You've got Michael sort of overseeing, the higher level with the program, and then you guys are on the ground delivering it. Is there anything else with that collaboration? Like I've seen Chris went overseas to do some work with Michael and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. So we obviously have a unique opportunity with Michael in Switzerland to create that sort of international connection. So we've had quite a few athletes come over and train with us from Switzerland, spend the summer doing a bit of training, or some other athletes that Michael also coaches come and join the guys and do some training and racing over here. And then we had an opportunity to send our guys over to Switzerland, which that's something that we'd like to create again. Obviously, a trip to Switzerland is a massive expense. They trained in St. Moritz. They trained alongside, with like the likes of Daniela Riff and so on in the lanes next to them. They trained with other high-performing Swiss athletes. It was such a unique experience, and so many lessons and so many valuable experiences for those guys. They just came back just raving about it, and both just took so much out of the experience. So we would love to be able to offer more opportunities like that, and we are hoping that next year we can run that camp again, either similar and have it in Switzerland, or maybe it's something completely different. And these are the sorts of opportunities where I think that us home coaches need to be collaborating and saying, hey, have you got some higher level athletes that would benefit from an opportunity like this, or not? And we work together to figure it out for the guys.
Exactly.
So
your screen's just gone sideways a little bit there.
Let me just I've got somebody like trying to call me, so it's just messing.
That's right. I'll turn my light on while you fix that.
Let me just sort that out. Kids trying to get in. I don't know how this. All right.
There you go.
That's funny because
I'm out of the dark too.
Yeah, that's on our team meetings with Michael and Chris. I often end up sideways. I don't know what I do, but they end up calling me Sideways Sam. So I'm just staying true to the name.
You're right at home.
So anyway, that international connection is something that's we think is really important and has been beneficial for our team in many ways, having other athletes come and visit, and then those guys being able to go over there. And then Chris has been over, and so he went over to that camp. I went and spent a weekend on deck with Michael in Switzerland when he was delivering a Swiss junior camp over there for their team, and spent some time there, which as a coach was a really unique experience, because for anyone who's traveled to Switzerland, it's quite challenging to speak any kind of language over there. There's French,
and they
there's
speak all of them.
Italian. Yeah, that's right. There's French, Italian, and Swiss German, and Swiss,
Flemish,
and then
or whatever
English.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm on deck with Michael and 2 other coaches, but the collection of kids we had, some were primarily Italian speaking, some were primarily French, some were Swiss German. Most of them had a level of English, but that experience as a coach and trying to figure out how to overcome some of the challenges around communication and how important it was, given that we're all speaking different languages, was really, really unique for me. Also, it snowed while I was there, and we're just about to head out for a run. Now, that's never going to happen here in Melbourne. It gets cold, but so even just navigating things like that, like preparing the athletes for a session where we're going to be running in the snow, like that kind of stuff is really cool.
You're not doing that too often in Australia.
No. Yeah, that was really cool. And then I also had the opportunity to travel with the junior Oz team on a Euro tour a few years ago. And that's probably where my interest for working in the high performance space really grew. It was a really cool experience. I got to spend some time with the Australian elite team as well, and go to briefings and be on pool deck, and I sat and got to pick Dan Atkins' brain about the athletes that he was coaching and what his expectations of those guys were for that particular race. So all these like connections and collaborations and opportunities to learn were just so cool, and such a great way to grow as a coach. And I think that is just as important as creating the opportunities for the athletes, because there doesn't seem to be any real coach development around. And so you have to create those opportunities yourself, or and put yourself out there. And so the international connection has been great for both coaches and athletes. And it's definitely something we hope to grow and continue to do for our guys. For Sky racing over there, her first time doing European races, a really good experience, and that was in the lead up to her going for her pro license. So just adding to that collection of experiences was invaluable.
I think having some kind of pathway or portal to make it easier for Aussies to get that Euro experience as kind of step one, and then build on that in later in their career. Because it seems like I imagine for the younger athletes it would seem like such a like, where do I start to even make this happen? Like, it seems like such a massive thing.
Absolutely.
So to have you go.
Sorry, coordinating that on your own just is overwhelming, let alone the fact that you're going to race against
and try and perform.
Exactly. So I think creating opportunities where they can do that and they're well supported is pretty essential, I reckon, to their racing.
No, definitely. So now you don't only coach athletes like Sky and the junior squad, you've also in the para elite space. How did that come about?
It actually came about a few years ago. I was contacted. There was a new para athlete in Melbourne, and he was looking for a coach. And at that time, it was Kyle sort of said to me, "Oh, I think you'd be a great coach in the para space because you're kind and compassionate, and I think that those kinds of skills would be great in working with para athletes." To that point, it actually hadn't been something I'd considered. It's not that I wasn't keen. It's just I just hadn't even thought about it at that point. But I thought, okay, that's fine. I'll give this a go. I really enjoyed it. It was so challenging, but it was a different kind of challenge. This athlete was an arm amputee, and so for me, there was a lot of learning about how to coach. Particularly the swim was interesting. The bike setup, developing the bike setup, creating opportunities to build the strength on that side of the arm that he could use, so that we we didn't wear out the other arm. There was just so much to it, and I spent a lot of time like googling information about para athletes and speaking to other people who had worked with para athletes, and I found it really rewarding, and it just kind of went from there. I now work with 2 vision impaired athletes, one of which who is ranked 7th in the world and a categorized athlete. So there's some unique opportunities there as both a coach and then an athlete. And I really enjoy building those relationships and learning about the athletes and that uniqueness of working with the paras. It's it's very cool.
Yeah, because there's not like a specific para coaching triathlon accreditation course you can do like a level 1, is there? So
no.
I think it's I think it speaks to your character as well to be able to have that open-mindedness and willingness to learn something new and just start working with them. And at the end of the day, like you said, it's big part of it's about building those relationships and going from there.
Yeah. You just need to learn so much about the individual athlete and what their specific needs are, because they're very different. And even the 2 vision impaired athletes that I work with have very different requirements. So I find that challenge actually really cool and inspiring. So I really enjoy it genuinely. Yeah.
That's fantastic. And so the other thing I don't want you to get away with not talking about before we leave is the other, you've got the coaching side of it, and then the things you're doing to support the athletes, not from just, providing coaching and facilities and things like that, but the support network, I guess the greater extended support network you're able to put around them. I saw you put up some posts recently about some of the benefits Sky's been able to get out of it. So do you want to sort of do a whip around of all the other services you've added to the program?
Yeah. So triathlon's very hard, right? There's 3 sports. It can be quite expensive. There's lots to being a pro. There's a high cost. And so one of the things that we wanted to be able to do was provide, I don't know, like a full support team, because when you go and you're on the Australian team, you have access to strength and conditioning and sports psych and nutritionist and so on. The list goes on and on. And that team of people is really needed for all athletes, even our developing juniors. They get a niggle. It'd be great for them to have a physiotherapist they could see and so on. So we decided that we try and put together our own team around these athletes. We're trying to do it at no cost. So but in 2022, we actually transitioned to a not-for-profit so that we could apply for grants and take donations and that kind of thing. So we've done a few things. We've done some work with the Heart Foundation, and through that we were able to take the kids, or 7 of our over 18s, to Sydney, and they did the 10K marathon. The 10K run there as part of the Sydney Marathon Festival. And that involved a session at the Heart Foundation where they learned about VO2 max, and Sky was put through a VO2 max test and learned about heart health with one of the leading professors in heart health. And then they raised money as a team for the Heart Foundation, and then that trip was funded by the Heart Foundation. Yeah. So that was a really cool experience for those guys, and just a unique opportunity that was, at no cost to them to get involved. Then further to that, because Sky is such a unique athlete, she's now an ambassador for the Heart Foundation, and through that program we've been able to get her a new bike and cover her coaching costs and things like that. Wow. Which is very cool, and it's great to be able to support her in that way. She works really hard, and she's at uni, she's studying physio, so there's a lot going on, and it's hard then to go out and raise money to travel and buy a new bike. So this is a really cool way to be able to support her. And then same, we're just trying to build sponsors and a network of connections where the kids can have access to things. And maybe it's not necessarily free, but at least, you know, maybe there's a discounted cost or whatever. So we've got a collection of businesses that offer our guys discounts. So that's really cool. Another program we're doing is called Tricycle, where we get, you know, mostly it's age groupers who have sort of finished using their gear to donate it to our guys, and then our kids have access to it for free. And so that's
very lateral thinking. That's very creative.
Yeah, that kind of came about, you know, because we asked Sky at some point, what did she need help with? She said, oh, it's so expensive to get all the gear. It'd be good if I could just have access to some, you know, secondhand gear. And then boom, this tricycle idea was born.
Yeah, cool.
So that's kind of Sky's, you know, Sky's baby, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, she after that we put a call out, and since then we've had several bikes donated, and they're on a bit of a boomerang system where we put it out to the kids. They use it until they either A, decide they're done with the sport, B, they grow out of the bike, and then they're ready to get their own because they are committed. But it just kind of saves mum and dad forking out. Maybe it's just their first year and they're not necessarily going to commit, so they don't want to buy a bike. Or, you know, teenagers, they grow every minute. Like buy a bike and then next minute it's too small for them.
Yeah.
So this kind of overcomes some of those barriers. And we've given the kids wetsuits and helmets and cycling shoes and so much stuff. It's been incredible. Yeah. And so all we ask of them is that if they decide they don't want it, they give it back. So yeah, it's kind of like a tricycle boomerang gear program.
So did you say Sky runs that, or?
Well, she doesn't run it. It was kind of born from her idea.
Okay.
So yes,
Cool.
So yeah, we'll do a pop-up shop for that next week, actually, at the end of our camp, where the kids can rummage through the gear that we've got and take anything that they need.
A bit like when you were at school in the day and you could no hat, no play, so you go to Lost Property and just
fish one out.
That's cool. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's really unique, and I'm glad they were able to share that. So, I mean, what's the main push this year with some of your coaching and athletes? So what are you up to next?
Well, we've got obviously Mags, who's our VI athlete categorized. She's looking to conquer some goals through some European or some overseas travel. So and then just looking to build further the opportunities for those guys. One of the things I forgot to mention was that part of the support network that we're creating is we have a myotherapist that comes every second week and helps the kids with any niggles, or, you know, gives them a massage. Like Mag's got a massage before her last race, for example. And that's at no cost to those guys. And then we also have a nutritionist who is coming to our camp next week to assist the guys with some nutrition information. And what else have we got? I can't think, but yeah, those kinds of it's late in the day here. I'm not very good after
end of the week as well.
But yeah, so again, trying to support them with those kinds of things as well, where, you know, they don't have to dip into their pocket all the time. But, you know, they're valuable tools that they need. And even our camps, we try and offer those for free, particularly for our members. We do get kids from outside, from schools and stuff coming, and we charge for those, but for our members they're free. So, and actually this camp we have Dan Atkins coming to join us for 3 days, which is super exciting. The kids are very pumped about that.
Got the drop on the podcast.
Yeah.
Got the scoop.
Yep, exactly. Shh, don't tell anyone.
And I was going to ask, what's the camp? Is it like a 2-3 day? What's the sort of format with it?
It's 3 days, and we just go in the morning. So like 8:15 to 12, we usually get 2 sessions in there. So like this one, day one is we start with swim, and that will be focused on some open water stuff and group swimming, and then we go into strength testing with our myotherapist, and she'll do some strength testing stuff with those guys and teach them about some basic strength stuff that they can do at home, and then we'll do a run session. In the middle there, I think I've got a plan for the kids to just hammer down with as many questions as they can about coaching Matt and Olympic athletes and all that. And then day 2, we'll head to the velodrome. We'll do some brick and some transition work. And then we have our first nutrition workshop on day 2. We'll finish with that. And then day 3, we're doing a mixed team relay, kind of with a twist, a bit of an adventure style mixed team relay.
Yep.
And then we'll have our second nutrition workshop.
And so that's this weekend, is it? Or
it's next week. It starts on Thursday, and Thursday to Saturday. So this here in Victoria, it's the first week of the school holidays next week. Today was last day of school.
Yeah, same up.
Oh yeah, okay.
What was I going to say? So it's not a live-in camp. They go for like the half day.
Yep. They come and go.
Way cheaper.
Yep, that's right. And so we'll try and do that every holidays. Another thing that we like to do is get the kids out in nature, and we ran 2 trail running adventures for them last year. And again, we try and do these at no cost, but which we were able to do last year, and hopefully we can get a sponsor to organise that again this year. But we took them out, I think 10 of them on a bus. The second one, we went up the mountain and did a trail run in the winter, so there was some snow on the ground. But we did.
Snow's the theme.
Yeah, we did 2 trail running adventures. One had waterfalls and river crossings, and the other had snow in the mountains. And so we want to create a few more of those kinds of experience as well, for those who
not the traditional swim, bike, run.
Exactly.
For the developing athlete.
For the developing athlete. And also we've got some kids that really love that adventure style racing, mountain biking and trail running and stuff, so that caters for those guys. I think it's also good for the elites who are on the pathway, but just something different, mixes up their training a bit, gives them something.
Tedium.
Yep, exactly. And they're such great role models for our young guys. They love having, your Skies and your Maggies at trainings, and really look up to them. So it's that's in itself is unique to have them all together. So so that's kind of the rest of the year, I think, just continuing to build networks and
make me tired already.
I know, it's exhausting.
All right, no, well that's all really good. I'm glad you've been able to carve out a bit of time in your schedule and stay awake. And
I think I've got plenty of time. It's just that I'm not usually very good at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Actually, when I told Chris that we were chatting at this time, he's like, "Oh no, I don't know if you're going to be able to stay awake. You're useless at that time." Anyway, I think I've done all right.
Yeah, you've done very well. Thanks for that. How can people get in touch if they want to, if they need, if they're in Melbourne and they want a training group, or you're at a race and maybe they need some help with something, or they see you at a race? How can they best get in touch with you?
Well, at the local races here, we do have the tent, like at all the 2xU series. So, I would say if you're at a race and we're there, just pop along to the tent. The more the merrier is our theme for race day. So come on in, dump your bag if you need a base or you want some help with something. Reach out, and then we have our website, which has our contact details on it, and we're also on Instagram, and we do post a little bit on there, and we check messages and stuff regularly there. So
Momentum Triathlon Academy.
Momentum Triathlon Academy. Awesome.
All right. Thanks for we'll wrap it up. That's I've kept you long enough. So thanks for having a chat, and I'm sure we'll see you around the traps again, and we'll link up later in the year.
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Sam.
No worries. See you.